with this knowledge, we can actually understand the reason behind poor quality print and the errors on printout. So the next section of this video is about identifying the reasons behind printing errors. For this, we will pull the components separately. Toner compartment and drum compartment. Remember, drum compartment also has waste toner container. Toner compartment has toner powder, hopper to guide toner onto the magnetic rod, the magnetic roller, the doctor blade, the two side bushes. The defects in any of these components leads to one set of errors. On the other hand, the drum compartment has OPC drum, PCR roller and wiper blade. Defects here will lead to another set of errors. So let's see one by one. Now the first kind of printing error. White patches horizontally across the paper. If these patches are broad like this, then it's usually due to low toner or it's a sign of toner getting empty. You may have to refill the toner, shake the cartridge and use it again. These white patches should disappear. You may notice that print quality is fine, but only these white patches appear again after few prints. So all the components are working fine. Only thing is you have to refill the cartridge. So plan for refilling this cartridge and replace the printer with another refilled cartridge. Second printing error. Again white patches horizontally across the paper, but these are very narrow patches placed close to each other. Now this is not due to low toner level. This can be due to problem in some components, but still cross-check it by shaking the cartridge and printing again. If the error repeats, then definitely there is some problem. And if this error comes after you have refilled the toner, then yes, there is a problem. And the problem is with the movement of magnetic rod. That means you have misplaced the magnetic rod in the gear assembly. That is, the half moon indentation of the rod is not fitted properly to the half moon groove on the left side cap. You can check it by rotating the drum with hand. If it's not smooth and if it's getting stuck in between, then definitely it's the same problem. Remember, the magnetic rod is the first moving part inside the toner and the gear mechanism and wheels from there is linked to the drum wheel finally. So checking the drum movement is equivalent to checking magnetic rod rotation. Now stop using the cartridge, remove the cartridge, open it and get to the magnetic rod and see if it's fixed properly to the groove by observing on the outside of side cap. Rotate the rod directly on the side of its gear assembly. If it is not smooth, then remove the left side cap and try to fit the half moon indentation to the groove properly and see if the spring is secured or if it is damaged. If it is damaged, then the whole magnetic rod needs to be replaced because this spring is embedded into the rod. If the spring is fine, then try your best to fit the rod into the groove. Also, now you can get to the right side cap. Remove it now for once and see if there is any issue with the gear assembly there. It will look something like this. See if any wheels are struck. Make some adjustments. Now cover everything, reassemble the cartridge and check if the problem is resolved. If it is not solved, it's better to not worry about this cartridge for now. Keep it aside and work with another cartridge. Take up this cartridge sometime in future when you find another spare cartridge which is at the end of its life, or if it has issues in some other components, and exchange the magnetic rod and side cap, whole assembly without disturbing the half moon alignment. I hope you are getting my point. See if this solves the problem. Okay, this was a serious error. Let's hope this doesn't hit you. So let's move on from this error. Third error, dullness in printing. That is, printing is not bright, intensity is low. This is usually due to magnetic rod losing its magnetic nature. This happens actually after several refills. This is an indication to stop refilling the cartridge and switch over to a new one, because by now other components and plastic parts inside the cartridge would have gone weaker. Our printout sample from the damaged toner which we showed is the best example for this. If you remove the cartridge and observe the magnetic rod, you may see stripes over it and the toner will not be evenly distributed across it. You should ideally see consistently dark layer of toner over it without any stripes or lines anywhere. Sometimes the doctor blade, which should guide the toner distribution across the magnetic rod, could be damaged, but this is very rare. Doctor blade is the least component to undergo any wear and tear. Anyhow, if this is not the case and if your toner is still new and if the magnetic rod is alright, then the issue could be with either the OPC drum or PCR roller. Maybe the drum has lost its optical property, you may have exposed it to the sunlight, or it could be affected by water or dampness. Even defective PCR roller can cause low intensity in printouts. Maybe the PCR roller is not charging the drum properly and so not enough toner is sticking onto the drum. So change drum and see if this rectifies. If not, change PCR and check. If the problem persists, change both PCR and drum. If still not solved, then it's better to forget this cartridge because sometimes you will never completely understand what is the reason behind these errors. Fourth error. This is very common error. Vertical black gradient patches across the page. This will be black patches. It is impossible to get horizontal white patches with laser printer due to the forward rolling mechanism. So it will be only black patches. The main culprit for this is OPC drum. Usually it occurs in some bands like this. If the band is uniform without distinctive vertical lines, then the problem is only with the drum. However, if you see some lines and streaks in between, then it is due to the defect in both drum and PCR roller. So replace accordingly. Fifth error. This is also common error. Vertical black lines or streaks. This is due to corrupt PCR roller. There can be some marks or scratches on it. You should immediately replace the PCR roller because this can lead to even damaging the OPC drum. Because any indentation on the surface of PCR roller can affect the OPC drum also, as they roll over each other, and since the drum has very sensitive surface, it can get damaged easily. So usually both PCR roller and drum should be replaced if this problem occurs. Sixth error. This is another common error. Black dots, one or many, repeated on consistent places. There can be two reasons for this. One is the drum could have been scratched externally when you were refilling, or it could be due to staple spins in the paper given to print, or it could also be due to the indentations on the PCR roller. So observe both drum and PCR carefully. If you can't find any scratch mark on the drum and only PCR has scratch, then replace only PCR. If it is not PCR and only drum, then change only drum. But double check PCR because if PCR has scratches, it can damage the new drum too. So it is better to change both PCR and drum together to be on the safer side. PCR can damage drum, but drum cannot damage PCR. That's why it's a good idea to clean the PCR thoroughly using water and cloth. This will keep it in good condition and eventually your drum will also be safe in this way. Seventh error. Black horizontal lines repeated in consistent places. This is due to wiper blade not wiping the drum completely and leaving a trail on the drum. Wiper blade rubber edge could have lost its stiffness. Also, if the wiper blade rubber has turned yellow, that means it has gotten old. It won't be doing its wiping work properly. If you have a spare wiper blade, replace it. Eighth error. Ghost images in print. This is due to defective PCR roller which has lost its charging capacity with rubber surface worn out. You will have to change the PCR roller. But sometimes ghost image can also be due to problems in fusing unit of the printer. Also, if there is total black grey shade on the entire page, then that's also due to poor PCR roller because it is not discharging the drum properly. And I always suggest you to try and maintain all components in the toner cartridge for all 5 refills. But sometimes some components may get damaged in between. But try your best to avoid it and retain all components. As a matter of safety, you can have 3 spare OPC drums, 1 or 2 spare PCR rollers, and 1 wiper blade. In my experience, this is enough. There is no use in buying packs of new drum, rollers, and blades. Because even if you buy and use those, your cartridge parts, the base material would be worn out and your cartridge may not be able to hold those. So you may have to buy new compatible toner cartridge, and this new cartridge will anyhow have all new components in it. So no point in stocking toner components separately. Instead, you can stock these components from your old toners as I suggested before discarding those. That is actually a more economical way. And you should at least have two toners with you, one inside the printer and the other one which is refilled and working in good condition. You should plan in this way. Once a toner gets empty, plan for refilling it soon before the other one gets empty. And if your print demand is more, like daily if you are printing more than 100 pages, then it is even better to have 3 to 4 toners in your stock. This is more than enough. Anyhow, let's come back to the point. These are the main errors in a laser printout, at least with this basic HP12A toner.